Hello, my name is Michael Riley. It's ABA Appliance. I grew up in Scottsdale, in South Scottsdale. Uh, Came here in 1962 when we were 6 weeks old, my twin and I. Just real quick, I'll give you a background of myself. We came from Minnesota, and my twin was really sick with asthma, died at birth, and they brought him back. So it was come out here or he wasn't going to live because it was too wet and too cold a climate in Minnesota. Those were the days when they thought that moving out in Arizona was going to be a better thing. But then we have valley fever and dust. And everybody knows we have a lot of dust here, and that's not good for the asthma. So he really struggled when he was here. He was killed in the line of duty, Maricopa County Sheriff's Department, March 11th, 94. It was my twin, Pat. And a big procession down Main Street in Mesa, and most devastating thing I've ever had to happen in my life. About 30 years later, I still have a difficult time talking about it. But I couldn't live here anymore at that time. Losing him was just too much, and too much of a memory here. I did service here for probably 20 years. And heating, air, and appliance repair. And at that time, I moved to San Diego. I went to a few places before that. I went and saw my older brother in Northern California, and then I went down to San Diego. I just loved the weather. Of course, you know, it's not as hot as here. It's probably the best weather in the whole United States, maybe in the world. With all the garbage that's going on in California and everything, and the housing is $800,000 for a median price for a house, come over here and it's $400,000. I mean, that's just absolutely a fact. I just came back. My health was been challenging me here for the last 5 years. A couple heart surgeries and some artery replacements, some get blood in my legs and all that kind of stuff. Things that happen when you get a little bit older. And so I figured, you know, it's time to go home. And so I'm back. I've dedicated myself to be very proficient in what I do. It always started out that way in the beginning. It started where I was given the jobs that to follow up on other technicians. It could be one technician. It could be when I was at Whirlpool Corporation. I took a job at Whirlpool when I left back in the very beginning. That wasn't after my brother was killed, but back before 90. I think it was 89. I was always the service manager would send me out when there was like 7. We had like 5 to 7 people were out on one call. I remember it specifically because the KitchenAid, new KitchenAid, we took over KitchenAid. Whirlpool did, and the KitchenAid vice president was going to ride with me because I was in Benton Harbor, working at a service center there, or Detroit. I think it was Detroit at the time. And so they sent me. He always sent me out because he knew that I would resolve the problem, and as PR to take care of the customer and retain the customer, because they're very upset because they had 7 people out there, 7 techs, and nobody could fix the problem. So, long story short, the vice president was. I had to tell him up front. I said, "Look, you're going to think I'm doing some things that are kind of strange, and I'm saying some things that you think I might be rude or whatever, but I'm not being rude. I'm just being straightforward and blunt with the customer. I'm here to fix it. Let me in the house. Stop screaming." Because that actually happened when we walked up to the door. And I let him know ahead of time, it's going to happen. Because, you know, they sit in an office. They don't go out there, and they don't deal with what we do. It's pretty difficult out there, and you just have to learn how to deal with the customer. Customer's upset, especially 7 techs out there. He's got to reschedule and take off work every time. There's no excuse for it. So I've always dedicated myself to knowing what the problem is and fixing the problem. And that's not the same as it is for most technicians. The problem with appliance repair is that technicians, there's no school to go to there was never any school to go to learn appliance repair. Technicians learn in the home. And I know that's a shock to most customers, but they're learning on your dime. So when they don't do something right, it's because they're still learning. And you're paying for their knowledge. You're their school, working on your appliance. And it's really sad. To help address that, I started a school, appliancerepairtechschool.com. It might be 15 years ago now. It's been the years have passed so much. And I get technicians from all over the world. But I did it differently. I was not a classroom setup. I wasn't worried about making the money. I was worried about the technicians learning the proper repairs. So it was hands-on. It was a one-on-one, only one student at a time, wherever they came from. They came from all over the world. And we would go out on real service calls, not this imitation stuff in a classroom where you make up a problem, and that's not reality. They need to go out there and find and see something that's melting that is causing a problem. That's real life world stuff, because somebody left a loose connection. And diagnosing it is tracking that down. So very effective. Technicians will go out, and I think every single case that I had a student, they'd go back after 3 weeks and they'd start their own business. And that's what they do here in all cases when they don't have training, is they start their business. They might work with a company for a couple weeks or a few months, and they go, I can do this on my own. And they go out and they start, and then they're learning in your home because they don't know the products. They don't know the diagnosis. They don't know the repairs. Transition to electronic stuff is really simple, but most technicians it's a mind block. Really all it is taking the individual mechanical components and putting them on a board, each one of those components. So instead of having 5 individual controls like we're all used to in the old days, there's one board with those controls all on the board called relays. So it's really not that difficult. You have one board to replace instead of an individual component now. So it's much more expensive. That's the drawback to electronics. There's many drawbacks to electronics, I'll tell you. So technicians, this is what I do is I manufacture SubZero parts, and I have been for about 10 years, some replacement parts for SubZero. SubZero is trying to force new sales. They don't like me. We've had an interaction a few times, and it's more of an attack by them on me. I don't care much for their administration either. They yanked all the agreements for service companies and were accusing independent service companies of ripping the customer off. That was an excuse for them to yank all the agreements out and create restraints of trade violation, fair trade violation, about 10 years ago. They yanked the service agreements and the parts distributor selling parts agreements out from everyone in the world about 10 years ago. Now the customer is paying the price because the customer can't get service unless it's only the authorized, because the authorized can get the parts. And this was their whole thrust, they assigned 6 friends that were friends of theirs, associates that are their best friends in the SubZero world, to their six different locations in, at the time, 6 different locations, regions across the United States. So there's only one parts distributor and one service company in the whole Western region. Are you kidding? There's thousands of service companies. That's a total disservice to the customer. So, and then the service companies can't get parts anymore. And SubZero decides, we're not going to sell parts to you, we're not going to sell parts to you. And then they won't sell wholesale anymore. So it makes it almost very difficult for parts service companies, even if they get the parts, to do service because they can't get the parts like you're allowed to do, get them wholesale. When you're a service company or you're any business, you buy wholesale. You don't buy paper and then sell it. CVS doesn't buy paper for wholesale retail and then sell it a markup from retail. They buy it for wholesale price. That's just the way businesses work. Not SubZero. They want to rip off. That was their whole purpose, was to rip off everybody else. So now they're going to sell retail. They're not even going to sell wholesale, which is the way businesses work. Fair trade. So enough of that. It's just that's the hostility that everybody is paying the price for of the actions of SubZero about 10 years ago. So customers and service companies are paying the price. Service companies, if you can't get parts, I can get them for you. And I supply all the parts, all SubZero parts. I supply all SubZero parts. I'm now in Scottsdale, Tempe, Mesa, Apache Junction, metropolitan area. I'm back home. If you need SubZero parts, remember, you can't get them wholesale from SubZero anymore. Just keep that in mind, because I can't either. Okay? But I do have access to all the parts if they're available. And in the case of evaporators and certain parts that aren't available, because SubZero is making them not available anymore because they're trying to force new sales, I'm manufacturing them. So in many cases, like the evaporators, I'm manufacturing many different models of evaporators, part numbers, so to be able to service these older units. And that's the whole thrust here, as well, of what I'm doing. Is I'm making I've made restoration kits available. Put together restoration kits probably 10 years ago at the same time, so that SubZero authorized service is going in and saying, "Oh, we can't fix that. It's too old. You have to buy a new one." Well, that's not true. It is repairable. So don't believe what they're saying, customer. And technicians, the same thing. This is a straightforward job, and technicians kind of balk on it, and you shouldn't, because it's a good paying job. It's several hours, but it's one day job. You can walk out, and customers understand. This is a big job. This is like putting heart and lungs and a couple limbs on a human. Doctors wouldn't agree with that analogy, but it's a big job. It can be 6, 8, 10, 12 hours for the job of restoration. So understand that, and understand there's going to be a cost involved. But you're saving $18,000 for the unit, and they're not the same size, and there's going to probably be remodeling costs. And you get into the remodeling costs, you know how ridiculous those are. You could have another $10,000, $15,000 on remodeling the kitchen to fit the new unit. And sometimes, let's just go ahead and do this while we're doing this. Then you're up to $30,000 for remodeling and $18,000. So there's $48,000. So instead of incurring that cost, you can repair your new unit. So keep that in mind. The tens of thousands of dollars you're saving. I know everybody's in the mode of talking people down in price, but don't do that with techs on this restoration. Because all you're going to do is the old adage plays true. You're going to get what you pay for. And the problem is, the reason I started out with the training there's a lot of techs out there don't know what they're doing. They say, well, I specialize in, but they don't know they're learning while they're in your home. So be wary about those, I'm certified. Be wary about those claims, okay? There's no such thing as a certification in appliance repair. So be wary about that. They just try to inflate themselves to get your confidence. And to pull the wool over your eyes and rip you off. So then it doesn't work, and you call them and they won't come back out. They disappear. They stop answering the phone, but they got $400, $1,200 out of you. You know, it's ridiculous. This is reality, and you all know this happens out there. So be wary. In the last year, I've had to go to almost a half a dozen different states. This isn't traveling locally. This is states, because I've sold these restoration units, and I've asked the customer to have the service tech contact me because I want to vet them. Because I'm in another state, and if the customer buys the restoration kits, compressor, evaporator, heat exchanger, dryer, in some cases a complete restoration, it includes the thermostat, the fan motors, 2 of them, and the gasket. And you're only looking at like $800 to $1,000 for all the parts. But the labor is going to be more than that, because it's a huge job. Keep in mind, you're going to save yourself $18,000 to $40,000 potentially. So treat the tech like he's worth the repair he's going to do, okay? We've gotten into a mentality with YouTube and everything else that, oh, that's so easy, I can't believe it. And it's not hourly. So don't go there. It's a flat rate. We have thousands of dollars worth of tools. We have to learn how to use those tools. That's why I made the analogy to a surgeon. Just the average person can go get the scalpels and everything else, but do you want that person doing your surgery? Because he's going to do it for $200? No. In fact, in the case of women, sometimes with these modifying surgeries, they go over across the border and they end up dead. Okay, it's not the same exact analogy, but it's very similar. There's experience involved. So give that to the tech. He deserves to make more for his experience. Not the average person could just take a torch out and put these things and do the sealed system, Freon and all this. It's not something the average person can just do. You have to be trained, okay? So treat the tech like he's worth something. The reason I'm harping on this is because we're getting treated worse and worse with this YouTube and everything. Like, oh, it's just, they see them putting Freon in, but there's something to it. You got to evacuate the system. You got to have the tools to do it. It's thousands of dollars worth of tools. Okay? And then knowing how to use them properly. Not just knowing how to use them, reading the manual. You got to know how to use them properly. And there's something to that, a lot to it. That's what I train in my school, tech school. So I've had to go out to these 4 or 5 different states. Customer got a hold of me after the fact, and they didn't have the tech get a hold of me. Because I know in just a couple seconds, talking to a tech, if he's just BSing me or in the customer, or if he knows what he's doing. It's like a surgeon talking to somebody that says they're a medical student surgeon, and in 2 seconds that surgeon's going to know that he's full of it. He is. It's like an accountant talking to somebody that says they're an accountant. Just certain words you use and certain ways you describe things. You know that they're just full of it. So, especially when you get older, you just know. So, they use different words. They used inflated terms and stuff that we would never use. They're accurate terms, but we don't use them. So that kind of thing. So anyways, that's what I've always prided myself in, and also been proficient in and always been recognized for. I am actually contacted worldwide, which when I think about it, it's pretty amazing. But the word gets around when you're good at what you're doing. We all know that, and my name gets passed on from I've had customers call me and say this parts house gave me my number, said I was the best, and that and other service companies refer him because he's the guy that does. If you can't get somebody and nobody's doing it right, contact him and he's going to solve it. And I don't even know these people, but the word gets around, and that's the reputation I have. Because if there's a problem, it's just the way my mind thinks. There's a solution, but too many techs get hung up in it and second guessing and all that. And the system works a certain way. And this is the way I train techs: is follow the steps, and that's how I'm always able to resolve whatever problem it is. Is just systematically go through it, and it's meant to work a certain way. That's one of the biggest problems, and one of the first things that I teach in my tech school is that first you have to know how the product works before you can fix it. So that's the first thing I go over with them is, how does it work? How does a washer work? And they're like, it washes the water. It puts water in, washes the water in, and spins it out. No, that's not how it works. Okay, and I'm talking about functionality of it. So when you know a certain thing is supposed to happen at a certain time, then you know what is supposed to make that happen. The parts that are in the washer. That's what I'm talking about. Same thing with a refrigerator or whatever it is. You have to first know how it's supposed to work. And then you can diagnose it. And then you can repair it. That's what I'm just very proficient in. And it's just I was born that way. You either are or you aren't. And so I follow up on techs all the time, and they'll start talking, why wouldn't he know how to do it? And I said, you know what, I don't know, but I'm here to fix it, and I'm sorry you had to go through that. There's no boasting on my part. There's no reason for it. Just do what they asked you to come there for and solve the problem. I had a dryer. I never forget it. The guy was like, I have 5 people out here, and this has been over 3 months, and still doesn't work. And are you sure you're going to be? I said, let's just go in and find out. That's what I'm here for. And I went in. It's really funny when you do this. For me, it is, because you got 5 guys that didn't. I knew what the problem was before I went there, because he told me what I was doing. But it's experience. Once again, it's back to experience. I knew what the problem was, but I didn't say it out loud to him, because I don't want to, guess ahead of time and then be wrong. It can be something else. It can always be something else. You have to test things when you get there. But the signs were pretty obvious. And it was a dryer. It was a gas dryer. And just real quick, it heats for a little bit and then stops heating. And it won't heat anymore. And then when he uses it again, it'll heat again. So it's like, what's going on? They replaced the thermostat. And, no. The gas valve has coils on it that energize. And the coils, the wire will break. And everybody knows that when things heat up, they expand. When they cool down, they contract. Well, that's what happens to the wire inside the coil. The wire is actually broken. Just like you'll see a light where it'll flicker and the element's broken inside there, it's broken. But it touches, when it cools down, it touches, and then it'll light. And as soon as it heats up, it expands and it breaks contact, and then the light goes out. Same thing happens with the coils on the gas dryer. And so techs aren't aware of that. And they can't figure it out. It's got to be the thermostat. And they're looking at everything, change the timer, they never go to the coils because the coils work. No, they don't. You got to check them when they fail. So I was there 30 seconds, and it said it's your coils. How do you know that? Look at the meter, because I turned it on the second I got there, and let it heat up, and then it got hot enough, it failed, and I said, look at the meter. There's no reading. It should read resistance, the coil, and it's the coils. So I put it on, and sure enough, solved the problem. He put a review on it, I forget where it was, but about the whole thing with all the 5 different techs and whatever. But that's a good feeling, because it's all about experience. It's not a boasting thing. It's just experience, and you're pretty much just, it's because you do that and you keep doing it with different customers. So it's just because you have more experience than somebody else, and it's because you've been doing it longer. And that's the problem that you're running into with a lot of younger guys, is that they're learning on your dime. And it's not dimes these days. It's like hundreds of dollars, several hundreds of dollars, could be even $1,000. And then they disappear. They won't call you back, and they don't refund you either. And then it's a fight to get your money back. That's not right. But we're seeing more and more of that. So vet your technicians, and it's hard to do so. The review sites are not trustworthy. Okay? Yelp is the worst place you can go. Because Yelp, you got people putting fake reviews on there, and then you have Yelp hiding good reviews because they say, oh, their algorithm says to hide those. They're good reviews from proper customers. They're hiding them. Yeah, Yelp, forget Yelp. Don't go to Yelp. Yelp is what I call a yuppie, fake review site. Basically, go back to the old way. Trust your gut. When you talk to somebody, if they sound like they're hesitating, like they're not confident, like they're not sure about something, and they keep saying things that doesn't make sense to you, I think you can go back to my conversation here and listen to it again and say, everything I said made sense. The reason is because I'm not trying to BS you. So trust your gut, okay? If something doesn't sound right, or the person sounds fishy, trust your gut. Don't go with them, okay? That's the biggest thing you can do to find the proper service company, is trust your gut. We all know that we run into people all the time that just sound, wow, I wouldn't have that person in my house. You can't even speak right or whatever. And it's stereotyping, but that's how we survive in life. Forget what they're saying about you can't stereotype. Yes, we always do. It's a survival mode. It's walking down the street. If you see somebody that's unsavory, you're going to walk on the other side of the street. That's stereotyping. It's to possibly save your life. And if it's not a bad person, so what? You know, big deal. You didn't say it to their face, but it is survival. So, and the same thing with survival of being ripped off. Trust your gut. Don't go against yourself. Don't second guess yourself. And that's the same thing in life. I won't go on about that, but it's the same thing with picking a service company. If they don't look presentable to you, don't judge yourself. You have a right to want somebody presentable in your home. You do. And it's clean. It's your home. Okay? And the same thing with the tech going in and not cleaning up after himself. You know? It's like going out to the camping and you leave a bunch of garbage out. You don't do that. Especially when you're in somebody's home. You treat it like much better than your own, because people are pretty sloppy in their own homes. Believe me, I've been in a lot of homes. I get the comment, sorry, it's not usually like this, not usually this bad. And then I go back with a part that I ordered was a week later or 2 weeks later, and they say the same thing over again. And I'm like, yeah, it is. It's like this all the time. It's no big deal. It's your house. But but treat customers. It's their palace. Treat it that way. The old way is the best way. Everybody's trying to change. we didn't know anything, the older generation, we were doing everything wrong. Sorry. They're finding out in their face that's not the case. Badly too. It's right back in their face. And going back to the old ways. And we got cars exploding and everything else, catching on fire because they want to change everything that worked for hundreds of years. Leave it alone. If there's nothing wrong, don't try to fix it. But that's what we're doing. Same thing with appliances. The new refrigerators are all electronic and everything. And go online before you buy anything anyways and look at the reviews because they're horrible. You got certain brands you can't buy. Samsung and LG, disasters. They're not appliance companies. And if you're not old enough to know that, they're electronics companies. They made stereos. And then they decided they want to make cell phones and refrigerators and everything else. Well, the only phone that's ever been banned in the history of the world from an airline is a Samsung phone because of the battery exploding. If you get caught with that battery on an airline, I think it's like a $30 or $300,000 fine. I think it might be $300. I forget. But it's a huge fine, and you're in big trouble because they can't. Are you kidding, Samsung? Same thing with the refrigerators. They don't work. They're winning awards. They're beautiful. They have glass. You can see in them. You can order your food and have it delivered. I mean, it's just ridiculous. They've ran the price way up, $3,500 to $5,000 for a refrigerator. And that's just your regular refrigerators, not your built-ins like the SubZeros. Outrageous. Nobody can afford them anymore. But they don't work. They don't know what they're doing because they're not refrigeration engineers. And there's an art to designing a refrigerator so the air flows proper and it doesn't freeze up and ice up. And that's the problems they're having because they didn't engineer them properly. And there's no fix to it. So the customer's out. It's a mess. They paid all that money and they So they got lawsuits, class actions, everything else. LG and Samsung, they're both in the same boat because they're both just stereo companies to start with. So they wanted to jump on this bandwagon of appliances and they have no idea what they're doing. So stick to the older brands. Whirlpool, which Whirlpool's umbrella is now Maytag and all the Maytag's lines, which were Gen Air, and there's just a bunch of Whirlpool brands. That's actually my preference is that because it's easier to work on, it's cheaper to work on. KitchenAid, it's just a higher end of Whirlpool. It's like a Lexus or a Toyota, KitchenAid, Whirlpool. But they're made by Whirlpool, both of them, KitchenAid and Whirlpool. KitchenAid's just their more expensive one. So I work on everything that's related to SubZero. I work on all brands. I'm trying to focus on just SubZero lately because I'm manufacturing parts for them also. Not for SubZero. I have nothing to do with SubZero. I'm not affiliated with them at all. Nothing to do with them. But I'm trying to do. Customers they don't want to have to buy a new unit, and that's what they're being lied to and told. They can't have it repaired. And the other thing I'll bring up real quick is R12 to R134A Freon. If you have an R12 unit, it's no big deal. But also, techs should not be putting R12 compressors in anymore. You need to convert it like the cars have been converted for 30 years. You convert it to 134A. SubZero says, you can't do that, or it'll sludge up. No, that's not true. It's a lie. It's been a lie for 30 years, and SubZero has been one of the pushers of it. Because they want to force new sales. And because I just honestly think they believe that and that they have no idea what they're doing. That's a fact. I do believe that because they put parts in some of these refrigerators that make no sense. And they've named them the improper names, and I honestly don't believe they really know what they're doing. They just happen to be able to make it work. But, and have for since 1944. But anyways, I'm not going to go on that subject. But they're lying to customers, and it's not right. You can have those older units, 30 years old, 20 years old, fixed. Okay? So techs, service companies, I make the restoration kits for them. All the parts are just the seal system parts, but they're kits, and it's everything. When I talk to the customer and I sell the parts to the customer, and that's what I'm going to do. You can buy them too, but don't inflate the price of them so you can profit off it. That's not the idea behind this. You're going to make a good amount of money. $1,200 to $2,000 for the restoration is what I typically tell the customers nationwide. And that's a good range, and it's a good amount of labor to do it, but it's also a fair amount of labor that you're not ripping the customer off because it's a big job. So if you charge $2,000 to do the restoration and you're there 10 hours, it's $200 an hour. Customer, that's not outrageous. It's not, okay? You got guys in like New York and other places, $3,000, $4,000 are quoting customers. Okay? I know that you don't know the rates in different cities, but I do. And I've actually been in those cities and worked those cities. So $1,200 to $2,000 is a very, very fair rate, and it's a flat rate. It is not hourly, once again. Okay, so don't start like I just did, 10 hours. Don't start dividing it up. If he gets done in 6 hours, it doesn't matter when he gets done. It's still the same rate, okay? You just saved $18,000. Remind yourself of this. And don't cheapskate the tech that saved you all that money, okay? We get treated like that too often, and it's just really unfortunate because we do a lot to learn our experience, and we do so much, the good companies, to treat you properly and clean up in the work area and leave it like we were never there. And I mean, I'm so bad that when I take shelves out, when I take the food out of the refrigerator and freezer, if the customer doesn't already do it, and usually they don't want to because it's a lot of work, and we don't want to either, but I just do it, whatever. But I always set it on the counter, just like I do if I'm taking a motor apart on a car. I'll set the parts in order. So I set all the food in different lines and in the order they are, just like I'd pull it out of the refrigerator. And they're like, I get done and they're like, everything's back in the same place as it was. How did you do that? Because I just paid attention. And it's not hard. You just set things, as you lift it out, you set it just like it was in the refrigerator on the shelf. Anyways, so those attentive things, you're paying attention to detail and you're trying to make it so the customer doesn't even know you're there, except for it didn't work when you showed up and it does work when you leave. So, be reasonable with the technicians. Don't try to cheapskate us, please. We just want to do a good job for you, and we want to be paid what we're worth. It'd be nice if people start recognizing that. And when I talk to a customer and I talk to the service company or the tech, I tell them that I communicate this with the customer about the pricing and about treating them properly, because I want the tech to walk in there and to be comfortable and not have to go through that reading you and, well, what if I tell her 1,500? Is she gonna? Because we're aware of that, and we're fearful of that. We want to try to give you a price that you feel fair with, but everybody's different. So we may change that price if it's a little old lady on a fixed income. We're not going to go up any higher. Fair companies won't do that. They have a certain price. But if you're a fixed income type of person, we may say, you know what, and we usually aren't going to tell you. We're just going to say it's going to be $1,400 for labor, because we're evaluating when we want to be fair with you, instead of $2,000, because that's the normal rate that we charge for that job to everybody. But if there's somebody that's struggling, they have a right to have the refrigerator fixed too. But companies that will go over that and go the other direction, that's wrong. And I won't even do business with them. And I won't refer them because it's not right. Why are you taking advantage of the customer? You're not taking advantage of them when you go down for other customers that don't have the money to fix it, or they're on a fixed income. You're just giving them a discount. Nothing wrong with that. But you go the other direction because it's a house and they have expensive house and expensive cars, and then you want to go up double the rate? No, I won't do business with you. And I won't refer you. So you customers and techs, you already know I've had this conversation with the customer, that I want to have a fair exchange here. I want you to not have to buy a new refrigerator or freezer, and to know the truth that you can fix your older unit, and that you're not going to get ripped off. You're going to have a technician that's fair with you, and you're fair with the technician. It's a two-way street. So when the technician comes in, you don't play that game of both of you are going to play it. You're going to be like, well, what's he going to tell me for labor? And then, well, how about this much? No, just trust that he's going to give you a fair rate, because I've already had the conversation with both of you. So he should be able to walk in and say, you know what, it's going to be $1,600. And we've already had the conversation. So you go, great. It's not $2,000. It's $1,600. Or if it's $2,000, it's $2,000. But if he comes out with $3,000, say, that's too high. And just say it right off. I understand, and I've discussed this, that the rate should be somewhere around $1,200 to $2,000, and $3,000 is way out of the ballpark. I can't do that. You want to stick within the range of what it really is worth. I'd love to have you do the job. But I feel like you're taking advantage of me. Just be honest with them. If you have that honest conversation instead of get out, then, he might say, you know what, you're right. I'm sorry. I was looking at it. Whatever his excuse is, if he corrects it, fine. If he's like, oh, I was looking at the wrong rate. That's fine. He's lying to you, but at least he's going to correct it. And just get past it. As long as he's not, he's going to do the job right, then that's what's the bottom line. You're going to save tens of thousands of dollars. So keep that in mind when you're talking about price of labor. There's no warranty going to be covered by the technician. I'm the one supplying the parts. So the warranty I will cover, and I'm also going to share that with the technician, that, look, you're not dealing with the parts at all. You're not going to mark up parts. You're not going to inflate price, because technicians buy parts cheaper than retail. So when they sell it to the customer, you inflate the price. It's just the way it works. It works not just with appliance, but with everything. You go to a store, they don't sell it to you for what they paid for it. You're not going to make any money. You can just go out of business. Okay? So a technician is legally allowed to mark it up to retail. We used to, at Whirlpool, we used to mark it up 25% above retail when we went out to a home. That was 40 years ago. 25% above retail. Anyways, so that's just the way it works, okay? Because you got to drive it out there, you got to drive over and get it, there's costs involved. So that's why there's a little markup from retail. If you went and picked it up yourself, then that'd be different, because it doesn't cost me to pick it up and drive it out to your house. So I'm educating everybody so that you understand how it works, so that when the tech confronts you, he's comfortable, can just say, you know what, I do this for $1,600. If that's acceptable for you, we can get it you all restored. And you already know that it was going to be $12,000 to $2,000. You're like, sounds perfect to me. Let's do it. That's an easy exchange, because you've both been informed ahead of time what the other one's thinking, because I've already told you what each other's going to be thinking. Okay? So I'm trying to help the situation. But also I'm trying to make it easier for me, because when I sell the parts, there's no refund, no returning them. So you got to find a tech. And I'll try to help, but the best way to find a tech is to talk to neighbors and friends, not review sites, okay? This is a different situation. It's like buying brake pads for a car and going to a brake shop. They're going to tell you, no, I'm not installing them because I can't warranty them. Plus, those are $20 brake pads. He wants to charge you $75 for them because he gets them for $10, because he gets them wholesale. And he wants to mark it up. That's the way businesses work, all businesses. So he's not going to do it. So in this situation, the technician, when I talk to him, I let him know, look, you're not dealing with the parts at all, okay? Warranty, I'm covered. Just do the job right. That's all you're warranting. And if you cause a problem, like you use an oxyacetylene, it's 3,000, 6,000 degrees, and you melt the evaporator, don't blame the evaporator. Because when you come back to me and tell me the evaporator's leaking when I got it, no, it's not. Either the customer or you are going to buy another evaporator, because I'm not replacing something that you destroyed, okay? And I have that conversation with the technician. You know, that's the way technicians are, is when they screw up, they don't want to admit to the customer. It's just the way they do it. They don't want to admit, and it's not just technicians, it's everything in life. If a surgeon screws up, he doesn't want to admit that to the patient. Problem with them is they got recording devices, and it's going to come out. The truth's going to come out. So he's going to have to fess up. No recording devices on technicians. But, so they try to blame the part instead of, I screwed up to the customer. Tell the customer. Customers appreciate, they know when you're BSing them. Techs, well, stop trying to BS them. Just tell them, they know you're human. If you let them know you're human and you screwed up, they're going to be accepting that. They may not like it because they're going to have to wait to get it fixed now. But they're going to appreciate you, and they're going to look at you as honest. And that, you just gained a lot more respect from them. Even though you got to come back, they're irritated. Don't mix that up with, they're going to respect you for being honest. And we need more of that, okay? So when you screw up, just admit it, because you're human. They're human too. They know that accidents happen. Like I said, they're not going to like it, but they're not going to think you're lying to them. The worst thing you can do is start lying to them, and customers can tell when you're lying to them. Anybody can, because it doesn't make sense what you're saying. You think it does, but it doesn't. And they can tell that. That's where they lost confidence. And it won't last very long. And they're going to say, we're done, we'll get somebody else to finish. Customers will do that. And if you haven't had somebody do it, they will. If you lie to them. Don't lie to customers. Just tell them the truth. I screwed up. I got it too hot. I melted it. I'm going to have to pay for it. I'm sorry. You made $2,000 labor, dude. Take the evaporator out of your labor. Replace it. Finish the job. Customer's not entitled to a discount of $2,000 if you're charging them that, because you're going to do the complete job. You just have to do it twice now. Put that evaporator in twice. But you're going to take the evaporator cost out of your profit, and you're going to pay for it. Okay? Be honest with the customer. Next time you won't screw it up, because then you won't have to pay for it. That's how you learn the hard way. But don't lie to the customer, because you don't want to pay for another evaporator. Just get past it. Get the job done. Learn from it. Okay? So this can work out really well. I need technicians, some backup technicians and service companies to contact me that are interested in doing these jobs. You got to pull a unit out. And like I said, it can be 4, 6, 8 hours, 10 hours, but it's a good day's work, and it's a good amount of money for a day's work. It is. Most technicians, I know what you make, and what you try to average on a job. Throw the commission guys out of there, because they were usually gouging the customers. $400 for fill hoses on a washer It's ridiculous. And there's a few companies out in Arizona here. I'm real familiar with you. You're still here, and you were here when I was here 30 years ago. And you're still ripping the customer off. There are some companies like that. If they work on commission, don't have them. Just ask them. Are your technicians paid? Are they or are they on commission? And if it sounds like they're lying, like they hesitate, they're on commission. I mean, they may lie to you, but if they hesitate, they're on commission. If they're a paid employee, paid hourly, or whatever, then that's what you want. Or if it's the owner or somebody, it's a family business, then that's different. They're not working on that commission because they're part of the organization. All the profit goes to them. So be leery about who comes out. But I do need some some service companies backup. I want to start, and if there's anybody out there that has a SubZero that they want removed, they're going to charge you to remove them. They're big units, okay? I see people non-working. It doesn't matter whether the refrigerator's working, the freezer doesn't work. You can't sell it for $5,000, okay? It's like the motor not working in a car, but the transmission works. Are you kidding? It's not worth anything. You got to take it to the junkyard. You're not going to get any money for it. You might get $200 or something from somebody just because they want, a mechanic or something. But generally, you're not going to get anything for it. Same thing with appliances. If it's not operational, they're not paying you. In fact, the problem nowadays is they have to remove the Freon when they trash it, so when they salvage it. So they're going to charge you, plus the big units, the built-ins. It takes a couple guys to move those. There's labor cost. They're not going to remove it for you free. So you're not going to pay, you're not going to get paid for the unit. You're going to have to pay to have it removed. Okay? So get this straight in your head. I saw somebody in a rich area that thought they were going to sell the freezer doesn't work. Refrigerator works, and they're talking all highly about the refrigerator. It's in perfect condition. No, it's not. The freezer doesn't work. That's why you're buying a new unit. Come on, you could paint it any way you want, but it's not worth anything. And they wanted $5,000 for it. I was just laughing. It's just like, wow, are you kidding? So they're going to end up finding out that they have to pay somebody to remove it. In fact, when the new people come to put the new refrigerator in, they're going to say, we're not paying you anything for it. If you want us to remove it and take it with us, it's going to cost you, $500 or $600 or $800 or something. Yeah, it's going to cost you money. It's not. Those are big units, and then you have to dispose of them, and it costs money to dispose of them, and you have to remove the Freon. That costs money. There's the cost involved. So if anybody has any units that don't work, and you don't know what to do with them, contact me. I'm not going to do that to you. There may be a smaller than what I said, smaller fee for removing it, and it's just going to be a labor cost. But I'm not going to charge you for Freon removal or anything like that, like they do. It's going to be a few $100s, $200 to $400 or something like that, and I'll remove it. So let me know if there's anybody that has, old units that went out and you decided to buy a new one. You're not going to mess with it, because otherwise it's going to be harder for you to get rid of it. So, I'm getting close to the end here. I just wanted to service companies, Scottsdale, Phoenix metropolitan area, Arizona. If you have not been able to get SubZero parts, contact me. I can get all the parts you need for any of the parts for SubZero that are available. Like I said, you're going to pay retail plus. There's no way around it. I can't buy wholesale. Nobody can. But at least you can get the parts and you just sell it to the customer. That's what the price of the part is. It's just what it is. You don't have a conversation about wholesale and retail with them. It doesn't matter. They're either not going to be able to get it fixed, or they get it fixed, and this is what the price of the part is. And it's not going to be outrageous or anything. It's just a small markup for my handling it and whatever. Okay, it's like any retail store with clothes or anything. Okay, so it's not even an issue. So bottom line is the customer will be happy. You can keep the customer. You don't have to let somebody else service them. You can get back if you haven't been able to service your customers. You can start servicing them again, the SubZero customers. So contact me, and I can get your parts for you. Okay. If you have technical advice that you need, technical assistance, if you're doing a job, a sealed system job or something, and you don't know what's wrong, contact me. It's my forte. I'm excellent at it, and we'll walk you through it, and we'll get it resolved. And that's a guarantee. This is what I was talking about earlier. I am very good at problem calls. And that's why I always end up following up others. When it can't be fixed by one or many, I go in and I resolve it, and it's fixed. I just know the way the systems work, and I just get it back to normal, and it's done. Okay. Too many techs start second guessing, and they get caught up, and they're looking way past the problem. It's right in front of them. Or it's something I haven't seen before or whatever, and they learn from, and I'll share with you what the problem is and work through it with you. We can do it on Zoom. I can come out there if you're local with you. We'll discuss it discreetly in front of the customer, so it's not like somebody's training you or something. Okay, I'm real familiar with that. I've done it a million times, and I'm sensitive to it because the customer doesn't like that either. They don't like that they called somebody out and he doesn't know what he's doing. So I won't let them know that. I just go in and I'm the specialist type of thing, and I'm just talking out loud as we're doing it. I'm not instructing you, but I'm talking out loud because that's what I do. We get it resolved, and the customer's thrilled. That's all they care about. They know that everybody's skill level is different in whatever they do. That's why people get paid different amounts. And so their bottom line is they called you because it didn't work, and when you leave, they want it to work so they could pay you and get you out of the house, and they can move on with their life. That's the bottom line. So if you have things, and just talk to me normal in real, like I'm talking, on here. Don't hide things. Don't act like you're afraid that you don't want me to think you're stupid. Don't do that. Just tell me straightforward. I don't know how this works. I'm not going to put you down. I'm just going to explain how it works. I get in my training mode, like with my school. I'm not going to put you down. That's how you learn, is to tell somebody you don't know how it works, and they'll share it with you if they know. Okay? So I'm just a real down-to-earth person. I've trained for over 30 years, and I'm very good at it. But keep it straightforward, keep it real, and it'll all work. Same with customers. Just be straightforward. If you have a question, ask it. If you have a problem, state it. If you have a concern, bring it up as well. And I'll just address anything that comes to the table. Straightforward. Okay? Bottom line is we're both happy when we're done. Problems resolved, why we met in the first place. And there you go. And it's a fair price and proper treatment. Okay? I'm going to bring proper treatment back to Scottsdale because I'm very familiar with what's going on here. There's some good guys out there, and there's a lot of what we call fly-by-night companies. And they're in every state. Okay? So I want to bring the proper treatment back to Scottsdale and the experience. Techs, don't be afraid to contact me if you got a problem. Like I said, keep it real, and I'll talk it over with you. Customers, if you want to fix your older units, you can. Contact me. Best way to contact me is by my email. I don't always answer the phone because everybody knows Google is spamming us constantly 24/7 with phone calls from every number they can put on the caller ID, and it's still them. Okay? I don't answer phone calls much unless I know it's you calling. So email me, tell me you want to talk to me, and then I'll give you my landline number and say, call me, let me know when you're going to call, and then I'll answer it. Okay? And that's about it. You have a resource, customers and service companies for SubZero parts and service. Okay? And an expertise like no other. I manufacture parts for them, so I know it better than any technician does. Okay? My background, I didn't say, is electrical engineering. I went to ASU. I'm sure you noticed that early on. If you're U of A, we don't know about you. Been a rivalry forever, always will be. It's a good rivalry. Anyways, like I said, I grew up here in Scottsdale, and I'm back. And I want to share with the customers and service companies what I have to offer, and parts to the service companies, service assistance to service companies if you need it, and service and restoring your old units and keeping and saving you a lot of money, tens of thousands of dollars. No joke. There's the math. $18,000 for their new refrigerator, and they're taking most of them up to a year to get in stock because of the supply chain. It's still slow. Yeah, these units, brand new units, are taking like a year to get. So the way to go, they're usually in great shape. They just don't work. So the functions, the operational parts, we can replace. And restoration of the seal system, or a complete restoration with the thermostat, evaporator, fan motor, condenser fan motor, and gasket, and the seal system parts, compressor, evaporator, heat exchanger, and dryer. Take one day to do it, and you're back for another 15, 20 years probably. Operational, like a brand new unit, okay? And you save $20 to $40, $50,000, depending on how much remodeling you do. Sometimes if there's somebody else involved, you might end up remodeling the rest of the kitchen and then the bathroom, and I know I'm just joking, ladies. Kind of. They do like their nice stuff, and the kitchen and the bathroom are their areas. So remodeling, it's a nice thought. But anyways, you're going to save a lot of money, okay? And I like to joke, okay? So, like I said, I just keep everything light and real. So let me know if you need some help from me, and I'd be happy to do anything I can to help you. Even if it's just questions or talking to you about diagnosing, figuring out if somebody's been there and it doesn't make sense, talk to me. I will always stop and spend the time to talk to you and figure out, ask you questions, and try to work it out. That's what I'm doing. I can't do service anymore. Constantly. I'm having some health issues. So I'm focusing more on this, but I also do service at times. Okay? So once again, it's Michael Riley, and it's ABA Appliance. ABA. A is in apple, B is in boy, A is in apple. ABA Appliance. And it's abaappliance.net website. And restoreyoursubzero.com is where the restoration kits are. They're also on my ABA appliance. There's a link on there to go over to the restoration kits. But restoreyoursubzero.com is the website for that. And refrigerator part replacements, plural, refrigerator part replacements.com is where all the parts are, SubZero parts that I sell, where you can order parts right off the website. Okay? Refrigerator part replacements.com. First two are singular, last one's plural. Refrigerator part replacements.com. Okay? So that's it. I am local. I'm actually out in Apache Junction right now. I don't know how long I'm going to stay out here. But when I came back, I found a place here real quick, and that's why I ended up out here. I'm probably going to move more central. not Tempe, but probably South Scottsdale area, maybe. But I'm good where I'm at right now, Apache Junction. So, all right, take care. And if you made it to the end, thank you. If not, you got the information from where I post this as well. If it's on the website or if it's on YouTube, wherever, my contact information is going to be there as well. Okay? All right, take care. And hope to talk to you soon. Okay? All right, take care. Thank you.